What is
Yep.
up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. This is a very special edition of the Geekcast. This is our instant reaction to the brand new Star Wars Andor series, and we have a tremendous panel in front of you. Once again, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me, as always, is the one and only Joe Garcia.
Hey, thanks for having me here. Excited to speak about Andor with all our other guests today.
From the Legacy of Nerd, we got Daniel.
What's up, yo?
From the Star Wars Stuff podcast, it's David Lozano.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Max Rebo lives.
I'm not gonna forget that. And last but definitely not least, General Kenobi. What's going on, Jose?
Hello there.
I like it. I love it. I see what you did there. Awesome. To give a little bit of a background of what we're doing, uh, Star Wars Andor just dropped today. The first 3 episodes dropped. This is going to be our thorough discussion that you're used to. This is going to be our instant reaction. We're just going to talk about what our feelings are about the show in a general sense, an overview, if you will. We'll have some spoilery things to say about it. But if you want our thorough discussion, you have to wait for that next week. All right. And I want to start with David Lozano because we've been talking about this since yesterday. And David, you and I sat down for a few hours with your crew talking about Andor and what our expectations were. But tell me just right now, after watching it earlier today, are you satisfied? Are you interested? Are you intrigued? Are you disappointed in what you just witnessed?
I absolutely hated it. It was no, it was awesome, man. I loved it. I am so happy that we finally got something like this in Star Wars. I was really counting on this back in 2012 when Disney bought the franchise, that maybe we were going to get something like this because we all know that Disney bought Marvel and they left Marvel alone to their own vices. So I was counting on Disney leaving Lucasfilm to their own vices, and we got Rogue One back in the latter part of last decade. And then, of course, we had Diego Luna starring, which is awesome to have a Mexican American lead Star Wars. I think a lot of us can kind of relate to that. I think in the Mexican American community, Star Wars is super huge. And to have Diego Luna come back to Star Wars and have his own series, lead his own series, him being the title character, being that one show that I was just counting on, waiting on, dark, gritty, really grounded, boots on the ground, very subtle, a terrific writer, a terrific showrunner. It's really what it was a dream. It's a dream right now for me. So yeah, I'm totally excited about what we're about to get. A lot of media got to watch the first 4 episodes. I think episode 4, I've heard certain things, and it feels like it's going to snowball. With each episode, it's just going to get bigger, more expensive, more money on the screen, more character dissection, and really not much of a slow burn as I think that most social reactions really said what these episodes were going to be. So I was really pleased with that. The pacing was excellent. I love that. It wasn't too slow to the point where I think general audiences would kind of like not be able to kind of stomach the slowness of it. But I mean, it was just perfect. All the little Easter eggs too. I know there was a lot of talk about there's not going to be fan service, no Easter eggs. There was quite a few in there, and I love Easter eggs. I love all that stuff. So
There you go.
yeah, I loved it. The first 3 episodes are great.
I'll be sure to come back around and ask you exactly what a few of those were. General Kenobi, same question goes to you, sir. After watching the first 3 episodes of Andor, what is your mindset like right now? What are you feeling?
So I'm very similar on the line like David is. I am pleased the way they're going with it. I expected something different because the character is different, right? He's not a Jedi. He's not some over the top guy. He's sort of as regular of a guy as you can have in Star Wars, I guess. And so I thoroughly enjoyed episode 1 and 2. That, like we said, like that sort of slow burn. These are the people around him. This is his situation, right? He's not a hero by no means, right? you know, if you don't know Rogue One, if you see this, you don't even know that this is the good guy, right? Like you're kind of like, hey, this is some shady stuff going on, which I was hoping for, right? That's because again, that's the character. We sort of know the tail end of his story, but now we get to see it build up. So far, I've enjoyed it. I did not expect a whole lot of action these 3 episodes, and it seems like some people were. Again, to your point for what's been said on social media and stuff. But I think overall the response has been very positive. I think people were not expecting this level of detail, this level of how can I say it, engagement, right, from the audience, like because it does sort of grab you and keep you like a nice thriller, right? It keeps you sort of like wanting, okay, what's next? What's and not in a bad way, as in I'm bored, give me the next thing. It's more like, ooh, I wonder what's gonna happen here, right? Type of thing. So overall, yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I'm sure we got plenty of episodes left, so there's gonna be plenty of action, to spare. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Jay's in the chat. What's going on, Jay? He says he enjoyed the episodes as well. The pacing was also good. And I know who this is, Mr. Matty B, saying, I came here for the Stormtrooper helmet giveaway. I was supposed to ask for David. Yes, the Stormtrooper helmet giveaway. Just take your pick, anything behind him. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what's happening.
Well, he's actually a little too late. We did give away a Bo-Katan helmet today on the podcast, so you missed it.
Maddie, where were you, man? Where were you, Matt? Come on.
Hey, man, just send him a picture of it. There you go.
And ironically, I think he's actually in the same state that we gave that helmet away in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So what you're saying is he can intercept it before it gets delivered.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you, Dave. Legacy of Nerd. Let's go over to Daniel. Will we go 3 for 3? What were your initial reaction or your feelings for the first 3 episodes of Andor?
Grogu's jealous. uh, I think we talked about this on D23 days. I didn't really know what to expect out of the show other than, and you said it was going to be a spy thriller, which it clearly is. It's a slow pace at first, but I think it definitely picks up. It's just crazy. We're getting content from these little one-liners in previous stuff. Rogue One came from A New Hope being like, good people died trying to get these plans, and then we're getting a whole 24 episode series off of like 3 words, like I've done things, like it's pretty amazing. It doesn't feel like we have a hero in this movie or this show. It just feels like we're watching, and I don't think I ever considered Cassian a hero. He's definitely he's always got the sense he teeters that morally ethical line.
Absolutely.
But I have to say I liked the first 2 episodes I thought were slow. The 3rd episode I thought I picked up, and that's kind of what I am remembering more right now, what I'm thinking more of. I have to say this show it could easily not be a Star Wars show and still be good. I feel like we're getting little Star Wars things in there, and we're fulfilling it's a Star Wars show, but had this been just an original show on HBO or something else, it would have been just as good. And I have to say that is saying something, because we said that on the last D23 as well, is that it's really hard to keep Star Wars fans' attention and not ignite a lightsaber. And so far, I think they're doing an okay job. I am really curious to see where this show is going in relation to the Star Wars universe and how we get to essentially what becomes more of the Rebel Alliance.
Absolutely. Matt says, you're watching the construction of a hero, right? I think so, but definitely the drama is in how Daniel mentioned it, sort of the teetering between morally good and bad actions that our protagonist may be taking throughout this show. You're supposed to be cheering for him, but every now and then you're gonna be like, "Ooh, I don't know if you should have crossed that line." And I think that's what makes good writing. If we're able to say that about a Star Wars project.
The
Exactly.
first and how different this is from prior Star Wars projects is the first 5 minutes start in a brothel. So that's just to give you an idea of
Yeah.
what this show is.
I love how I was just like, this isn't that kind of place, is it? Nah, it can't be. And then like 10 minutes later, they confirmed it when they were
Yeah.
talking about it. I was like, oh, so it was. Awesome. Mm,
Some of those guys were not there for drinks.
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Joe,
And
go into you. Oh, go ahead, Kenobi.
oh, I was gonna say, and he even says like, yeah, they were in the brothel, the expensive one, the one they can't afford. Like, whoa, so there's more out there. There's the cheapo, probably like ghetto version of this, and I was like, wow, that's taking it to like one more notch, right? But sorry, it just reminded me of that.
What I don't want to know, but it's sort of interesting, is like in real life, we know the difference between the expensive ones and the cheap ones.
Right?
I wonder what the differences are between the expensive brothels in the Star Wars universe and the really cheap ones. That's just something I'm interested to find out.
It's
But
probably the quality of the talent and the mileage on such talent.
There you
Just saying, man.
oh
Just
man,
saying.
go.
oh man.
Don't Game of Thrones my Star Wars here.
Matt says, echoing the ideas of our favorite Jedi's, everything that is right is gray. Joe, you're next, sir. Your instant reaction, your instant take to Andor.
Well, you knew it was going to be a grittier, darker Star Wars as soon as you saw Cassian Andor walking through the red light district. And I thought that the two episodes that they started off with right away were just basically setting the scene, for this dystopian uh, future that we're seeing here, this dystopian scene, that they're trying to get the viewers engaged in. It's really dark, it's gritty. They do a lot with shadowing, contrast, that type of thing, framing. And even with Andor, with Cassian Andor's close-ups, they always make him look like such a shady character, man. He's always got the hoodie on, always looking back, that kind of thing. I'm like, if this dude isn't suspect, I mean, come on, man. He's walking around not even acting like, hey, what's up? I'm just a normal dude just looking for a good time. No, he's always looking like he's up to something nefarious. But
Yeah,
either way, I mean, you like where this was going right off the bat. You see, some of the consequences of the actions that plagued Cassian in that first episode. They come back to haunt him, and I think that's the sentiment. How sometimes you do things, and you have consequences, and it just draws you deeper and deeper. I think it's drawing him deeper and deeper, as we can see, to his destiny at this point. He's getting thrust into this rebel alliance, whether he'd like to be a part of it or not. But it looks like some of his ideals are kind of lining up with him and the way that he grew up, and I think that's one of the things that fans would have rather seen in the first episode instead of flashbacks. I think they should have made that clear and got that out of the way and just show what happened to Cassian Andor right off the back as he was a child versus showing those in flashback scenes. If they would have gotten that done, you could have done that in what, 6, 8 minutes right away. Let's take care of that. And I think that's the sentiment that fans have an issue with, is that it takes too long for their liking for things to unfold. And I do think at times that they do spend a little bit of too much time with the buildup, and it's the execution that needs a little bit more of a polish. But I understand that they're building up this world and they're trying to draw you in. I just think that it's a little bit of time wasted as they spend too much time on certain scenes rather than trying to go ahead and forego that and speed up the pacing a little bit. But other than that, the first three episodes to me were great. And you would have thought that there would have been a little bit more action in here, seeing that the director has also directed some of the Jason Bourne films as well, which are action packed. So that was something that kind of took me aback a little bit. Other than that, though, if you like spies, thrillers, espionage thrillers, you're gonna like Andor. And I have to admit that it was beautifully done. I mean, everything, like I said, from the shots, the music, everything is just, you can tell it's a lot of work was put into this, and it was a labor of love. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds, but it's a slow burn. I will give them that.
I I'm going to sort of piggyback off all you guys because I also too am enjoying what I'm watching. Number one, this feels like a real Star Wars universe. Kenobi, for whatever reason, Kenobi just felt like everything was on a set. Maybe there was a few scenes that were sort of filmed out in the open, but every now and then, every other scene just felt like it was on some sort of sound stage, or just felt really enclosed. This feels like it's being shot on a real planet somewhere. It just looks beautiful. It looks massive. It looks like you can really get lost in this universe, this world building that they're doing. And the mystery, I like the flashbacks because it is a ball of yarn that they are sort of unweaving or untying slowly, but that's just kind of what you expect from a storytelling narrative, is that there's certain subplots and certain things that you just have to peel back slowly because the payoff will be there, but it's just getting to that point. We're gonna have to be patient with those things. Other than that, I'm totally invested in what's happening. I know Diego Luna was gonna kill it before the show started, and I'm a big fan of his. So I'm enjoying everything that they're doing. It's very interesting to kind of see a different side of Star Wars, and it's refreshing. Above all else, it
Very.
is refreshing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't have any Jedi Knights or Sith
Yep.
involved. It's just basically the buildup of, the precursor to the Rebel Alliance and the nefarious dealings that they have to go through just to kind of keep things afloat. And it seems like they're always in dire straits no matter what they're doing. I think that's the thing that keeps you at the edge of your seat is how far are they willing to go, and you're starting to see how far they're willing to go. They do some pretty shady stuff in this series, and I like it.
There you go. Jay says he said it on the Kenobi live stream. It gave such a spy type thriller vibe. He's absolutely loving it. Well said, Jay.
That third episode really kind of reminded me like of 24. If y'all ever watched that,
Yeah,
Every
they're
single season.
like Kiefer Sutherland.
Good job.
yeah, because they were like, we have, we'll be there in 10 minutes. And they show like Cassian and
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård. I forget his name of the Star Wars show, but Stellan
Luthen.
Skarsgård.
Luthien
Luthien,
Rail.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it just kind of gave that like dun 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 dun, kind of vibe.
Absolutely. Dave, you talked about Easter eggs earlier. What did you spot? I know you probably spotted a bunch of things. What are
Yeah.
some of the biggest things that you spotted? Let's put it that way.
Well, it was kind of surprising that we got a lot of sequel trilogy characters and puppets in there. If you remember the bird that taps at the beginning of The Force Awakens, it's actually called a steel pecker. And there's actually two of those birds we see, and then they do a cutaway shot, and then they're gone for some reason. But in that same kind of junkyard, you can spot several different ships. There's a Y-wing without its engine. There is the same class ship as the Ghost from Rebels, parked on the far right. And there's actually a Lugga Beast, the creature that Tito rides when he captures BB-8 in the net in The Force Awakens. That's resting on the ground, as well as one of those big aliens with the yellow kind of machine arms on it that's dragging something before we see the Falcon in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's like an E-frame almost that he has. Yeah.
That was pretty much everything that kind of jumped out. They did drop Wobani a couple times, which is a planet that we see in Rogue One. That's the prison camp planet that Jyn Erso was on. And Wobani, if you don't know, is actually an anagram for Obi-Wan. So,
there you go. Well done.
That. I'm happy anytime we're not on Tatooine.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think at this point we should be just grateful that we're on a different planet.
Yeah, we got to see some different worlds, different planets, which is a far cry from just sand, all the time.
Yeah, hey, I'll take it, man. And one thing to Dave's point, I saw a lot of Corellian ships. I think I saw. I want to say I saw the Outrider, but I'm not sure. I need to go back and
Really?
do frame by frame. But
What episode was that?
I want to say 2, maybe. I know I saw the Ghost, or again, a ship like the Ghost, because it doesn't have the Phantom attached in the back. But in that shot, there's probably another 3 or 4 Corellian type, ships.
Yeah.
that looked very familiar. I mean, the Y wing is right up front, right? You can see
Yeah.
it right away. Um, but yeah, I my eye, went to the left to the Y wing, then to the Ghost. But I want to say the one behind it, and I think on that same row, the one on the very front, had like that canopy, cockpit style that's on all Corellian types. So yeah, I'm sure somebody already did a deep dive, and it gives you the exact model of Corellian fighter that are parked there, and where we saw them before. But I haven't looked it up yet. So, but I did enjoy that. It just goes to show you that Corellian ships are very popular, and they're how do you call it? There's a hot market for them. I
And they're
liked
built to
also
last.
Luthen's. Yeah, the Luthen's ship that I think looked nice, man. That like when it starts like unfolding the wings and
Mhm.
stuff at the very end. I don't know. I like the way that
The
that thing
cockpit
looks.
was very reminiscent of the Millennium Falcon, a Corellian
Exactly.
freighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
How
like the new
close?
droid also. They
Which
seem to always
one?
make these droids so cute. The little
Yeah.
the little red one.
Oh, B2 emo.
B2 emo. Yeah.
Dude, how do
I
you
kind of
guys
like.
remember names? The show just came out today, and
Oh
y'all are
yeah.
remembering. I know Cassian Andor and Tim. Just
Oh
were the
Tim.
easiest ones to remember. You're
Oh
probably gonna tell me
Tim.
later it's not Tim, but okay.
Captions are your friend. For whatever reason, the older you get, the more you want to read captions.
I
I don't
want to
know
see
what it
this
is.
whole screen, Ted. Come on.
How close is this speeder bike to the ones we see in episode 6, Return of the Jedi? The one that Cassian and
Cassian.
Luthen is riding.
They look pretty close, man. It
Yeah,
was
if I remember
dead on.
correctly, at least the front was
Yeah.
pretty similar, right? Like
Yeah.
the nose, for sure.
The
But
stabilizer fins and the profile of it. Yeah.
right,
Just heavily rusted sort of look.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's pretty much the same.
So is this supposed to be like a junkyard planet?
Well, they said if you couldn't find it here, you couldn't find it
Yeah.
anywhere. So I would think that the whole planet, it seems, is in the business of procuring items.
Right.
It's really interesting to see Cassian come from such a primitive civilization that we haven't really seen in Star Wars besides the Ewoks.
Yeah.
And that's something. And they were all kids. I want to know
That's
what's
what I
going
was
on with
saying.
Yeah,
that.
I
That's
was gonna say that.
odd.
Yeah, I found that out too. Now I don't know if all the parents were conscripted to the quarry or something like
I
slave
kind of got
labor,
the
but
I got the feeling that those kids were kind of abandoned there or
yeah,
left
me too.
there. Like they were all orphans and they formed their own kind of clan. Is from just looking at these scenes. That's what I kind of gathered from there. They didn't have parents. They're just
Yeah,
kind of living like Lord of the Flies kind of thing, out there
exactly.
in the
That's what I
middle
was
of
gonna say.
nowhere.
Like they might have, like, if you notice, like their little huts and stuff, like it looks like it was scavenged,
Yeah.
like put together, not necessarily, oh, we made it all from the same tree and stuff like that, as if they were, to your point, like native, like they had been born there, right? It seems
Yeah,
like
or they
somebody
were brought
patched it
there.
together. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
we need, a roof over our heads. We got pieces of metal, pieces of plastic from whatever, from a ship or something, and they just threw it all together.
One of the things that I think is telling is the one of the scenes where they have one of the kids, well, all the kids, they see something in the sky, you see a ship coming in, from space to the upper atmosphere, breaking through the clouds and whatnot, and they're looking to it like if they're going to be saved or
Right.
rescued.
Well,
One and
there's
one
the
of them
one
even
girl, right?
waves her
Exactly.
hand, and they're like,
Yeah.
no, 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 because they see it on fire. They
Yep.
know that something's up, and they're like, hey, get over here. So it's like they want it. It's like they're expecting, or somebody to come
Or
and save
hoping,
them,
right? For yeah.
but they're weary of danger as well, because I think that maybe other ships have crashed on this planet, and as you stated, this isn't their first rodeo, because
Yeah.
it looked like they were really organized when it came to procuring any
Yeah,
salvageable
man.
parts.
Yeah,
I
those
think
kids were
Jay
on
just
point.
said
I
it in the
mean,
chat right there too. What it felt like.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
There you
Jay
go.
says felt
Exactly.
like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. I
Yeah.
kind of had that feeling too that these kids were somewhat maybe runaways, not necessarily this was their home all the time, but they're
Yeah.
sort of living out on their own. I can't imagine why there's no one above the age of like 18 with this group.
Well, when they
But
were talking about the planet, they said some quick line that the planet's toxic, and then when Harry Potter's aunt comes into, she's wearing the gas mask, so maybe that has something to do with it. We'll find out
Well,
later.
they said there was a mining disaster
Yeah,
on
my
that
All right, something
planet.
like that. Yeah,
So,
ooh,
or it's
But
maybe that,
uninhabitable, is what they said, or something like that.
but I
yeah.
mean that Republic ship was carrying something nasty, right? I mean,
It must
I
have
don't
been
know.
like something like a chemical bomb or something, because when you
exactly.
see it
That's what
crashing,
I
you see the yellow
yeah.
tail off of it. Yeah.
And I mean, and they're all yellow covered, even though they
Yeah,
were
it
wearing
looked like
masks,
it was some type of maybe some type of nerve agent,
right?
biological weapon, and in the crash it probably activated and exploded, and of
Right.
course they inhaled it because one of them was still alive, but he was looking rough.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was on his way out. So
Yeah,
Were we getting the sense that ship was coming down because of Order 66, or just
it was
the
an
Clone
Empire
Wars?
ship. It had a cog on it.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
was post Order 66.
Yes, and it looks like this maybe have it was probably shot down by maybe the early beginnings here of the
Okay,
alliance.
okay.
So it looks like it's had some battle that we didn't see. We just saw the ship, crashing.
yeah. Although to your point, Harry Potter's aunt was on that ship like quick, right? So
She
were they
was
following
there.
them?
Yeah,
Like, did they bring it down? Maybe like at
Maybe.
that, like they responded real quick, right? Like they were scavenging that thing.
them Muggles are
Like,
quick.
yeah, exactly. Like the day off.
so to be fair, we don't know the exact age of Cassian, but I gotta imagine that ship crashed well before, maybe 10, 15 years before the events of Order 66 or Episode 3. Because Cassian, present day, is 5 years before Yavin, and Order 66 was 19 years before, but Cassian, as, what are we guessing, 10-year-old?
Might
Just
have
I'm
been
about, I
getting
like
would
like
say.
12 to
10, 9.
14.
I
Yeah,
thought he
He looks
was like 10 or 9 years old from the portrayal.
he looks
yeah,
taller than that to me.
So I'll guess around 10 years before Star Wars Episode 3 and the Order of 66. That's just my guess. But who knows? Maybe they're going to try and retcon it a little bit
yeah.
and
Because I think
stretch things out.
Yeah,
he's
they
not
could.
supposed to be like that old for Rogue One. I want to say he's supposed to be like not even 30 by Rogue One. So
Ooh, you
Well,
think
he's
so?
already
he
looking rough
looks rough
now.
though. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I think hey, it's all that Mexican beer, right? But
No, man, you don't have
What do they
money for
have on that
the good
planet? Yeah.
brothel,
exactly.
man.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't have money for the good one.
Yeah.
Can't afford that. Uh,
What do y'all think about the Empire contracting out Torture and Terror?
It
That's interesting to me.
doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me, man. I mean, it is what it is on that, and they're willing to do what it takes to get their message across,
right.
I mean, they're privatizing imperialism. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And just to give you guys an update here, I'm looking at the latest scores from Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh snap!
And
Ooh.
right now the average I guess tomato meter is saying that it's being scored at 89% from the critics. Now the audience score is really what I pay attention to. Audience score right now has Andor at 79%. So I'm willing to say that by next week, maybe by next Monday, that score might fall a little bit lower than 79%, because this isn't going to be a series that's for everyone. You're
Yeah,
either going to be one of these fans that only likes Star Wars if it includes the Jedi, the Sith, that kind of lore. But if you really liked Rogue One for what it was, you're going to love this particular series, and it's kind of a refreshing to depart from just the general uh Jedi Sith kind of thing, and just dealing with the other things that are going on as far as the seediness that is part of
yeah,
Star Wars that we really don't get to see a lot of. I think that is the intriguing part to the OGs like us. We get to see something different, something new.
yeah. And you start, like you said, right? You start to see, some of the brutality, right? Of not necessarily the Empire because they're not stormtroopers, right? The what do they call them, the corpos, um, but they're Empire adjacent, right? Now, to me, these are sort of like guys that aspire to be able to join uh, the Empire military, right? Like it seems like they didn't make the cut for whatever reason, uh, and they went ahead and into the private sector, but they're still of that mentality, right? Like, hey, if I do good, maybe I'll get a shot, because that's
Yeah.
that's what the like sort of the feeling that I got from the what is he, deputy chief investigator, the
Yeah.
Inspector.
And let's be honest, man. A
the-
lot of these guys probably didn't pass the physical because they've been eating a couple extra
Dude.
helpings of tacos or something.
Extra
Well,
blue
'cause-
noodles there.
yeah, because they can afford the expensive one. That's the thing.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
the brothel, man.
And on
It's gonna
that
be a
guy,
joke all season long.
yeah, exactly. That's it. The sergeant, Musk, is that his name? The heavier guy that's basically really leading the troops for the Blues, as they call him.
Yeah, he's a
I love
bootleg.
that guy, man. He is so articulate. Like his dialogue was on point. His speech was like, man, I felt inspired by him, and I loved it when he turns it over to the to the inspector. He's like, yeah,
Um,
like
um,
thank you for being here. I
he's
thought
like,
that was
what did
hilarious.
he say? He goes, kind of like you have a way with words, well spoken. That's what he
Yeah.
says. Well
Yeah,
said.
exactly.
Well said. Well said.
And then he goes inspiring, and he just walks away.
That guy, that's the guy that you want in your corner. That's your
Oh,
yes
yeah.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Your
Yeah,
hype
yeah.
man. Your hype man.
Exactly. Yeah. So I actually, find myself enjoying his scenes a lot more than I probably should have. But like for me, he was a main character. I was just on every word he was saying.
Yeah, I think it was episode 2 that really had me laughing because they thought they really, captured Cassie and they blew up the decoy ship, and then they kind of both look at each other and they're like, "Yes, we got it. We
Yeah.
got that SOB." And then
Yeah.
they blow up that getaway cruiser or whatever it was,
Yeah.
little Land Cruiser, and it of course off some of the troops that are there,
Right.
and then they're both wondering what the heck, and then they see
Yeah.
Cassian going away on a speeder bike,
The
and they
speeder bike,
just left with that bitter look that I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
my revenge on you. It's like you all been had, man. You all thought you were all that in a bag of chips, and you got
Yeah,
played.
right. Yeah.
Episode 3 that was, yeah.
Yeah, episode
Episode
3.
three.
Yeah.
Anybody feeling really sorry for Tim?
Yeah. I think he meant well,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of like that. Again, that it just goes to show you some of the like real world interactions, right, between normal people in the Star Wars universe, right? I mean, there's this guy, he's just trying to keep his chick from going over with the dark greedy dude, and
The heart
everything sort
wants
of
what the heart
yeah,
wants, man.
yeah. Hey, but
You had him coming.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, right? So it just sort of blew up, literally, almost in his face.
Well,
Is
he
this-
had been spending.
Is this
if he
our
had
first Star Wars booty call?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it is.
I think so. I mean,
I'm thinking. Hang on.
Anakin and Padme was in between episodes.
Think very hard, Ted. Think very hard.
Yeah, does Anakin and Padme count?
Yeah, but this
They didn't
dude
show
had
it.
He
some
showed up in the
game.
middle of the
Nowhere
night.
near. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this guy had some game because it's like calling Uber Eats, and you know how they bring you the food.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
man. I mean, that brothel really, gets around, dude. They bring the
yeah.
girls to you.
Yeah. That's the
He's got it on
expensive one,
speed dial. He's got
That's
the cheap one on
that's
speed
that's
dial.
the
Yeah,
one.
that's
No, stay away from the expensive one.
exactly.
I bet you
Oh,
get really
man.
mad when they leave that one at the wrong door.
This episode of the Geekcast is taking a turn to the dark side, Ted.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Maddie's not here. Maddie be eating this stuff up. Dude.
I know.
Oh my gosh, we'd be off the rails if Matt was hearing all this right
we
now.
probably had to end the show already.
We would
Be a booty clap
Facebook would
and
take
or
down the
booty clap
stream.
everyone.
Oh, he'd be on the table for sure with the Miller Lite, dude.
Oh man. Let's see here. Any theories on where the show is heading? Anything? I know we've only had 3 episodes. We're not even nearly halfway there, but Anybody have any theories on? Is it just going to be sort of a chase Cassian throughout the first season, or what do you think exactly this could lead to, David?
I think we were told a while back when they did all the junkets that, especially Diego Luna was talking about the fact that the series is kind of malnamed in a way because it's not just about Andor. They're going to concentrate on multiple other characters, and I think the next episode, episode 4, is going to maybe concentrate on Mon Mothma and the Senate and going to Coruscant, and we should see a lot of different things there, and maybe a flashback to where I think Luthien Rail had longer hair, and he was kind of starting his path on really kind of go up against the Empire and being very clandestine and seeing the origins of Mon Mothma is something I think we all as OGs want to see. And it's going to be really interesting how she kind of got the courage and stood up to the Empire. And there's a lot of marketing stuff that talk about that. But yeah, there's something like over 200 speaking roles in Andor in this 12 episode first season. So I think we're going to get a lot of character kind of dissection. And of course, we haven't met Dedra yet. So she's another main character. She's the female Imperial officer. So I'm interested to really see her. I know Tony Gilroy specifically wanted her in this role after going to a play and watching her in England. He's like, yeah, that's the girl I want to play this Imperial officer. And apparently she knocked out of the park. And all the acting so far has been terrific, top to bottom.
Yep.
No complaints there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more characters. And for me, the show, like I said, I'm reiterating, shows working for me. This is what I wanted.
Absolutely. Kenobi, either theory on where we're headed or what would you like to see going forward?
Sure. So if I remember correctly, we know that this first season is only going to cover, I believe, 1 year, right?
Yes.
On the
Right.
on this period of Star Wars. And by the way, I should mention, I thoroughly appreciated that on that first screen they literally put 5 BBY.
When have they've never done that,
They've
right?
never done that before. Yeah.
I was like, that's it. Like, this show wins. Just with that reference, I was like, I'm all set. That, this could be bad, and I will always appreciate that. But so
Yeah, and also putting the name of the planets on the screen so we know
Right.
where they're at.
Oh my
thank
god.
you. Yes, I
So
mean, it's just
helpful.
it's just little things like that. And when you turn on captions, it's all much better.
The cheaters,
But
cheaters, all y'all.
So if I remember my timeline more or less correctly, the Rebel Alliance is still very much scattered at this point, right? Like, there's still just cells or little pockets of resistance, right?
Yeah.
So I think this season we're not really gonna see any how can I say, any like military display of the Alliance, right? Like, we're
Ooh.
probably not gonna see the Alliance fleet as come into play, or even the big ships like the Profundity or anything like that from the Mon Calamari. We're probably just gonna get to see, Luthen recruiting. It's like, hey, I need to go get Cassian. Hey, I need to go speak to Mon Mothma in Coruscant. Then I gotta fly out and try to convince, Jyn Erso or Saw Gerrera to sort of cool their jets. It's not the time yet. So I kind of feel like, that to Dave's point, that's where all those characters are coming from, right? Like, this dude's trying to line up the pieces so that when the time is right, hey, let's bring it all together. Let's form the actual, military side of the Alliance, and let's go out there and fight. But again, we're not quite there yet, right? So I think it's going to be a lot of world building for sure. Get to revisit some of the characters. Of course, we're going to get to meet new ones. And if you think about it, we saw 3 episodes and we haven't seen the Empire, right?
No.
I mean, we haven't really seen anything. We heard them mention, of course, but we haven't seen him. So, that also tells you just how much they want to build up, these characters and the interactions, within. So
Yeah.
my
The
call
only thing
again
we've seen is the cog on the side of that ship. That was it.
yeah, exactly. And even then, right, like, they were probably scientists or,
Yeah.
not necessarily like military assets. Um, so I think that's where we're going with season one, and I'm really hoping that season two kicks that a lot more into gear with the actual show of force of the alliance. I know they're gonna compress like 4 years worth of story into that one season. So that I think season two is gonna be a lot more action packed, whereas I think this one we're gonna be hitting a lot more of the story details and the character development.
I like it. I like it a lot. Daniel, same question. Either theories going forward, or do you absolutely need to see in season one?
I don't know exactly if I need to see something specific. If we're 5 years from Rogue One, we should be running adjacent to Star Wars Rebels. So that being said, I think we should. I don't think it's fan service to cross over with some people that we should see kind of around this time. Like maybe Agent Callus from the Imperial side, or some of the Rebel High Command that we see in Star Wars Rebel. I don't need to see Ezra or the Ghost Crew or anything like that, because I feel this is Cassian's story. I feel like this first part of the season will probably be focused on the sister, kind of like Firefly a little bit, and then the second half maybe kind of like the movie Serenity a little bit, and just going off and fighting whatever they need to fight. Now that being said, with 24 episodes, it needs to build up to something, and if it can't be the Death Star, it can't be Luke Skywalker, it can't be any of the things we know. So they're going to have to give us something new, and I'm kind of excited to see what that might be.
I like that. I actually wanted to ask about the sister a little bit. Um, are we all just in agreement that because he got separated at the end of episode 3 in that flashback, that he just hasn't been able to find her ever since? It's been
I mean,
all
he
this
couldn't
time.
speak their language. He couldn't tell them he had a sister until
Ooh,
probably
it's a good
later.
point.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he probably couldn't communicate till a year later, or something like that, till he actually learned at least some of the words and stuff.
There
Um,
you go. So he hasn't found her this entire time. That's just beyond wild, you know?
well, I
And
mean,
he
yeah,
on
has
her
this.
side, she's primitive, so there's no way to track her. So
Well, and that's interesting. It's kind of like, how is he doing it in the first place? How does he even find her to this planet, to this brothel? Like, how does he get kind of wind of this is happening, and then
I'm guessing he
he's
probably
still
heard there was a Kalani girl there, and that's not something you hear a lot.
yeah.
yeah, that's
Is
what I was
that
gonna say. That they're probably not. A lot of them they get off planet, right? Since they're sort of primitive. Um, but yeah, I think definitely that the sister is gonna be a plot point. Um, do we think the sister makes it though?
I don't know. It could be a number of Kalani ghosts, right? It could not even be the sister.
true?
Exactly.
Joe, what about you, sir? Theories going forward, or what do you need to see in season one?
Uh, theories going forward, I think Cassian's sister will show up, but she's going to be working for the other side.
I
I
like
think
it.
Yep.
because her brother kind of left her there, and they haven't had any communication. So even if she was to see him, how receptive would she be to be reunited with someone she feels maybe on her part that just abandoned her, you know? So you got to do what you got to do to, make a living in this nefarious world, So maybe she works for the other side and that's his revelation, maybe that's how the season ends, all this build up to finally find her, just to find out that she's not what you think she is, So that to me would be a really pivotal plot point, moving forward, and how that's going to play out going into the a second season, So it's all about the buildup right now, character building, and you know, seeing how all these pieces kind of start to fit together to reveal, the Rogue One that we actually saw in theaters and everybody loved, so much. It's just the building blocks, and it's going to take a little bit, but I'm here for it. I'm going to enjoy the ride for what it is, but I think there's going to be some revelations here. There's going to be some little rope to dopes, that that are going to surprise a lot of the fans. It's not going to play out the way you think it is.
Good. I fully expect to see a lot more emotion in this show. Drama, a lot of drama. I think this is going to be the most emotional Star Wars project we've ever had. You know what I mean? And we're going to get really invested in Andor throughout this first season. You know what I really need more of in this first season? Vetch. Vetch is a character I want to see more of. For whatever reason, I'm like, yeah, more Vetch. That's what we absolutely need.
Do
I
you know who
wouldn't
plays
mind.
Vetch?
Oh God, hold on. Got to be a wrestler, right?
He played the giant in Game of Thrones.
The Mountain,
The
really?
No, no,
Mountain.
no, not the mountain. The
Oh,
really like huge. I think his
The
name
oh,
was
actual
like
giant.
Yun Yun or something like that.
yeah, Yun Yun.
Yeah,
Onion.
That is cool. That is
That's
awesome.
awesome.
No, I did not know that, but it makes total sense.
and that was his voice as well.
I need way more Vetch. Please bring him back, Tony Gilroy. Later on in this first season. I just want a great story. I want a great story. I don't have a whole lot of expectations. I'm already invested, and if we sort of just catch wind of famous either Jedi's or heroes, but not necessarily see them, like
Yeah.
that's enough for me. Just kind
Agreed.
of tease us with those things, but they don't need to be in the front of the camera because of all the things you guys have already said. This is Andor's story, and this is the pre-spark to the hope of Rogue One and the New Hope. So yeah, no, it's very exciting. Any final impressions or anything else you kind of want to mention about the first three episodes?
I think
Little
Tony Gilroy is doing a bit of mirroring of Rogue One with the opening of Episode One, where Cassian has to murder someone straight up. Um, and you guys talking about your expectations and what you think is going to happen. I almost feel like it's going to happen the same way that Rogue One ended. I think everyone's gonna die except for the people we know that survive, because we don't get a Luthien Rail in the end. We don't get a Bix in Rogue One. Um, we don't. I don't think Dedra's gonna make it. I think a lot of people are gonna die. And I just listened to an interview Tony Gilroy did with EW, and he talked about that fact that was one of the most impressive things that he thought Disney had baked in before he got to do Rogue One, that everyone dies in the end, and he thought that was very, very interesting, that was the actual case with what the story was going to play out.
I like it. Anyone else?
Nope.
I
Yeah,
kind
I
of want
mean,
to
I
see
think,
KUS, so we need a little bit of a comedic
yeah,
element,
that's what I
a
was
little
gonna
bit.
say. I know that B2 Emo is sort of filling in the shoes right now, right? And he's doing just fine. Don't get me wrong, but I need K2SO.
I
That I need
wonder.
at some point. I'm not gonna say at season one probably won't happen, but if in the last episode of season one he finds or reprograms an Imperial droid, then I'm all for it.
I think it's happening in season two. I think Alan Tudyk was supposed to sign on for season one, and then something happened, and Tudyk is also doing a sci-fi channel show as well, and he was under contract for that. Maybe there was some type of dispute there or whatever,
Right?
or he was
Are we
booked.
confirmed to season 2 already, or are they calling it
Yes,
back in?
Yeah.
season two is happening. They're
Okay.
going to start shooting in November, and it's
Okay.
going to be another 12 episodes. That's the 24 episodes that we're getting of Andor.
Right.
12 for the first season, 12 for the second season. And the second season is supposed to be blocks of 3 episodes. So every 3 episodes are going to be directed by one person, and
Okay.
they're going to be self-contained in 1 year. So the first season is 1 year, and the second season is years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
With the final episode leading directly into Rogue One, from what we're all kind of assuming.
So with him in that alley, pretty much.
Yeah, in the Ring of
Okay.
Kafrine. Yeah.
The Ring of Kafrine. Yeah.
Derpy Gaming's in the chat. I was optimistic about Andor coming in, and I very much enjoyed it. This show is different and unique, being story driven towards different point of views of new characters. It kept me engaged. Well said.
Yep.
I think it's very
Absolutely.
much more on the ground of how the
Yeah.
people are reacting to imperialism, more than we have like a main character like Kenobi or Mando or the Bad Batch, or people that were a part of the story. These people weren't really like these people weren't really a part of the story. They're just reacting to the things that are happening around them. And then we just know what Cassian is going to be, his big thing that he's going to do for this universe, but we're watching him watch all the other people around him react to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Jerpy, see you again, sir. Says if you're looking for action-driven Star Wars, this may not be the show for you. Definitely, I think we're gonna get a different style of action, a different flavor, if you will.
Yeah.
Sort of the one chasing that we got in episode 3. Like that's enough for me. It's different, it's new, it's inventive in a lot of ways. We saw some things that we haven't really seen before, so I'm much on board with show me something new. You don't have to blow my mind, but definitely show me something new, and we'll be just fine.
Those engines coming down were cool, or whatever they were.
Right.
I
Yeah,
really like that scene.
I found myself enjoying that scene a lot more. And you're like, dude, it's just hunks of metal falling, but I don't know, like
Yeah,
it just looked good, and the sound was
random and
there. Like,
everything.
yeah, exactly. Like I thought it was very well put together.
Kind of reminiscent of the scene from the Goonies when you have all those rocks with the
Oh yeah,
chains, with the ropes falling down when they activate the booby trap. That's what it
yeah.
kind of reminded me of.
This is like
There
the
you go.
third time I've been on with you guys. Keep on going back to the Goonies.
This is
It's always the Goonies. The Goonies
what it
did it
reminded
first.
me of.
I need that sequel. I need my Goonies sequel. I don't know what
There
they're
was
waiting on.
talks. There was talks that it was going to happen, but who knows, man.
Yeah, the kids of the kids. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what?
Man,
We should make our own movie, and we got a dead ringer. Jericho can play. What's the kid's name? The chunky one that does the
Oh,
shuffle.
Derpy says he wants to drop some spoilers, so yeah, go for it, Derpy. Free game, sir. I want to say that you know what Star Wars fans are not used to this starting out, and what I mean by this is that we've never really started a story from the beginning. Star Wars fans are used to starting out a new trilogy where you don't understand what's happening. Episode 4, Episode 1, Episode 7 being sort of the biggest WTF of all of them. I think that was new trilogy's biggest downfall is you didn't have to pull a Star Wars sort of episodic Western trope where you kind of throw us into the mix of a story that's already like midway unfolding, where there's this new order that came out of nowhere. Like I thought we saved the day and destroyed the enemy back in episode 6, but no, episode 7. Like there's an even bigger force that somehow came out of the ashes, even stronger. And to me, it was just you didn't have to do that. You could have just a story from the beginning and let it unfold, much like Andor's doing. We're learning everything from the get go. Yeah, Cassian's searching for his long lost sister, but we're definitely being handheld through the first few episodes of this season, and I don't mind it. It is different than anything else that they've done movie wise or story wise. But like I mentioned before, it is refreshing, and I think it's going to take a little bit for fans to adjust to that type of storytelling because we're so used to fast pace already going like the train's already on the tracks, we're already heading towards something, and instead we're going to be developing this story in a much different, more cathartic way, and I'm all for it. Derpy must be typing up an essay
A
here. What do you
novella.
got? What do you got, Derpy? Let us know. Anybody else feel that way, that this storytelling is just so different than anything else they've really done live action wise?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a different take, which is more unique. And it just feels like there's more attention to detail, especially with these first 3 episodes setting the scene and doing such a good job of character development. I think it's going in the right direction versus, as you said, being thrust into a story that's already uh, you know midway through the book, and you're trying to kind of figure things out as it's going along. But uh to case in point, the new trilogies downfall was there was no consistency. They didn't have an outline. They had no
Yeah.
idea where they were going, so that's why you had the WTF moments from film to film. So that was a hot mess. Disney dropped the ball, but I think now they learned from their mistakes, and now we're getting Andor. You know,
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
complete story.
yeah,
it's a complete story. Absolutely.
And we're not starting in the
Um,
middle of a war or a battle. At least
no,
yeah,
we know there's probably one going on, but this is not our point of view. So the episode 1 started with the separatists. Episode 4 started with the rebellion versus the empire, and episode 7 just happened.
yeah.
So
And this Andor actually set the scene right off the bat, because you remember that opening scene, well, not the opening scene, pretty much, but once Cassian goes to the brothel, comes back out, and those security guards or the rent-a-cops are right on his tail, and he goes and kills one, and then the other one's begging for his life. Please, 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 I'll say this and that. He just offs the dude and just leaves.
how
That's
did
like,
he kill the first one? Was it like Ricochet, the blaster bolt? Or
I
did
don't
he?
know. I think he slammed him on the ground or something like that. There was a scuffle,
Okay.
and I think at
Well,
that point in time he broke his neck or something.
he hit him. When he came close, he hit him with his head.
Oh, okay.
I figure he probably broke his nose and
Yeah,
hit his
right
brain
up
or
to
something
his
like
brain,
that.
yeah.
But
Okay.
Or shot to the temple. And
I just thought they
Yeah,
made a point
exactly.
to show that the blaster bolt was bouncing off. So I was wondering if that was it.
yeah, but I mean, because even he said it right. It's like, no, he's faking, because he's like that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It wasn't even that bad, right? Yeah, but apparently it was.
Derpy says, first off, Disney went there with the show. I'm very surprised when a character died. You see their point of views and emotions, and it was very interesting. I assume he's talking about Tim.
Yep. I would think
Or
so.
Cassian. I mean, Cassian dies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the first time, because we saw Anakin die. We saw Kenobi die. We saw Yoda die. So I don't know. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's talking about Tim.
Both deaths, he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, no. Definitely different. Definitely kind of
Yeah.
felt new.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I
can't
think
imagine where that
is it-
happened again. Something like
is he
that.
talking about the female Rufio from from the ship, the one that gets shot in the back? Maybe that's what he meant. But
Oh, it could have been. He could be talking about her. He
Well, he's
says both
talking about
deaths.
the deaths, the more iconic deaths and the reaction that they show of the characters. That's a new thing that they haven't really shown before in a Star
Yeah.
Wars series or film.
yeah,
I mean, this whole
Yeah,
series
not
is
a
predicated
Star
on
Wars.
murder. So
Yeah.
the first, it's not this vessel was destroyed. It wasn't whatever. It was, a murder of two
straight
people.
up. Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It feels unique. It's refreshing. I've said it all night long already, and we're all in agreement. It's interesting. We're in for the ride, and I think that's a beautiful thing. The critics are mostly on board, and the fans, I think, are mostly on board. I think no matter what, it only gets better from here. So stick around. I think there are great things in store. I don't think you greenlit 24 episodes unless you have a solid story to tell and you have something worth telling. And I'm just so excited for Diego Luna in this role. He brings a certain vulnerability to Star Wars that we've not really seen. We're usually dealing with overpowered Jedi's and queens, or royalty. But this is definitely different. He has things to lose, and he's also willing to do what it takes to find the ones that he loves, and that's something very different in the Star Wars universe. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. This has been our Andor instant reaction stream. For a much thorough and detailed analysis, join us next week on a regular night schedule, usually Monday nights. It will be interesting because I have my birth. We'll be fine. Monday night, we'll be talking more about Andor, and we want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about the first 3 episodes? Let us know what your theories are going forward. We want to hear from you. You can always send us a message on Facebook or you can email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Derpy, I see you, man. He says, I'm very curious and optimistic to what will happen in the future episodes. If the tone is like this the rest of the way, this is where the fun begins. We're going to end it on that note because that's a perfect note to end it on. For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. Joining me, as always, the one and only Joe Garcia. Let's get right here.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching and greatly appreciate you guys. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you share, and like us to give a special shout out to our other guests that joined us for this Andor reaction. Thank you guys for joining us. Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Tell the folks at home where they can find you. Daniel, let's start with you, man.
The Legacy of Nerd. I am on YouTube and Instagram at The Legacy of Nerd. I do have a live stream tomorrow for a free giveaway of a Power Rangers Lightning Collection Green Ranger. We'll be covering Hasbro HasCon next week for the Power Rangers panel. And Toy Hunts, I think me and Kenobi are going to collaborate this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we got something brewing for Saturday. So
Make it happen, gentlemen. Kenobi, where can the fans find you?
sure. So YouTube channel called General Kenobi's Bunker. Toy hunts, obviously Star Wars. We trying to do more often live streams. The show is called The High Ground. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. Caught that?
It's a good name. It's a really
Damn it, it's a good name.
Appreciate it. So yeah, if you want to talk, just basically hear me blab my own theories and engage on what Hasbro is brewing for Star Wars and things like that. Go ahead and stop by, like I said, every Wednesday around 8 p.m. Central. Toy hunts, toy reviews, toy unboxings. That's what we do on the channel. We have, of course, our usual rant for stuff that Hasbro decides to do every now and then. But yeah, Instagram also General Kenobi's Bunker, and TikTok same thing. So appreciate the invite, guys. It was super fun.
Oh, appreciate you, man. And last but definitely not least, David Lozano with the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Where can they find you, man?
You can find us everywhere. Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. What am I missing? Pretty much everywhere online. And of course, we have a Patreon too. We do just about a podcast every day. Bleeding Edge info and news drops. So if you want to keep up with that, you can find us there. But we always do a podcast Sundays and Wednesdays live on YouTube. And you can listen to the audio version, of course, on Apple, Spotify, your favorite podcatcher. So Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
And I want to shout out Dave because last night we did a Andor preview show, and he had on Chris Bartlett, who's been in a number of projects for Star Wars, a number of episodes for Star Wars, and he's also most recently performed as C-3PO. So if you want to check that interview out, fantastic interview with Chris, go to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast on YouTube. It's one of the most recent videos. It's the Andor pre-show live stream, and hear from somebody who is a diehard fan like you and me, who is actually a part of the Star Wars universe, and it's beautiful to listen to him talk about it. Awesome, folks. Check out the WrestleCast tomorrow for their wrestling commentary. They're doing a recap, I believe, for the Mission Pro Wrestling event that was held here in San Antonio this past weekend, and they also have some events, some pay-per-view events they're previewing. Check them out on YouTube and Facebook Live. Next week we'll continue our Marvel, House of Dragon, and Rings of Power discussion, and we're also going to throw Andor to the mix. So Joe, I'm going to apologize already. It's going to be a long night for a while, buddy.
All good, man. I'll see if I can power through it because this first season is getting ready to kick off. So I'm going to be quite busy with doing my dealings that I got to do with Project Spurs. So I'm going to have to be trying to juggle both.
We'll make it work. Jay, appreciate you joining the chat. Jerpy, shout out to Jerpy. Shout out to Maddie B, wherever you're at, sir. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. We will see you next week.